Alright, chapter 1151 of One Piece, and I gotta say, this one's just as important and impactful as the last. You could even argue it's more so because we're getting more context about what's actually going down. I'm not gonna lie, I really like this one. Now, the cover story, same complaints as always, it's boring and not going anywhere. Why are we still focusing on Yamato? Let's do something else already. But you know what? I don't even care at this point because this cover story started off too important not to be important. It showed us all Wano underwater, so just give it time. It'll be fine. The pilgrimage is over and Yamato's just going through Wano doing random stuff. We'll see what comes of it, but I'm confident it's gonna go somewhere. We just gotta stop with the complaints, you know, the vibes. Let's get into the meat of the chapter because there's a lot to talk about. We've got a slightly softer week following two big ones, and that's fair. With maybe 3 or 4 chapters left in volume 113, it makes sense to take the time to get everyone aligned for the climax. Yamato's cover story is still lingering, but at least we get a Kawamatsu cameo. I'm kinda surprised Oda didn't have Yamato shock everyone by competing in more traditional attire, given their usual tendency toward the masculine, but maybe that would have been low-hanging fruit even for him. Now check this out, Kashi's back. I almost forgot he and Oimo were around. They were so important to the journey to get here, but they've been totally overshadowed by Dory and Broggy for the crew's welcome. Since Kashi at least manages to escape being reversied, maybe they'll get a chance to shine in the fights with the turned giants. Speaking of which, we've got Dory and Broggy turned, and the others are begging them to snap out of it. But Dory and Broggy are talking crazy, saying stuff like, "Yo, Elder Gerald is a legend, you can't do this." And the others are like, "We idolized him too. But he's a broken man now, and it's up to us to put him out of his misery." There's some interesting stuff in this scene, like Broggy's dialogue. He's not just going for Ja Rule because he's been ordered to. He's found an actual justification that almost makes sense for a lifelong warrior to have. It makes you wonder, does Immu's power bring out suppressed feelings, or does it invent things like this for the victim? I'm surprised to see the chain capturing continue. I thought it would be a one-off joke last week, but Oda's doubling down. Are we gonna see a power that runs on board game rules as a counterpart to Luffy's comic book rules? I'm not sure how I'd feel about that. Now here's an enjoyable development, the feedback loop of Immu's arrival into the kids and the Sleep Tids. The Haki knocks them out with the last thing they remember being the demonic villain, and their bad dreams about it cause devils to appear. It all goes to increase the feeling that these guys are a threat that only escalates the longer they're in play. Like most abilities, it's likely the way around this will be to take out the user, but how can you do that when he's immortal? And speaking of killing him, I don't think I could possibly have guessed what his human form looks like. It's really changed my impression of the character. Early Killingham seemed pretty affable as villains went, doing bad things, obviously, but in kind of a goofball way. Being caught by surprise by the summoning, always nodding off, or having those half-lidded sleepy eyes, even keeping the peace between Summers and Gunko when they discuss music. I'd kinda wanted to like him, but this new Killingham looks like an edgelord and is coming at his cruel work with much more enthusiasm. I wonder if it's a case of the devil fruit influencing the user, the chill killing sometimes overcoming everyday Killingham. I absolutely love that we see the mother who clearly inspired the Nightmare Mom in the crowd watching the kids. And of course she would withstand the Haki blast too. I can't wait to see what she ends up doing here, especially if it's fighting her kid's Sleep Tid version of her. Also, it looks like there's a Zunesha among the Sleep Tids right at the end of this sequence. Knowing that Zunesha lived through the Void Century and knew Joy Boy and was given a sentence to walk endlessly for an unknown crime, I wonder if Zunesha features in any ancient text or drawings that Elbaf might be protecting for a local to learn from. I could not be more ready for the Harold flashback with Immu's last line. Immu speaks of Harold like an ally that made a single mistake, but treats Harold's most famous works, the school and the library, as two of the country's biggest issues. That's not a single day lapse in judgment. Was Harold trying to pull a fast one on Immu before he got turned? The rest of the chapter jumps back in time to show Luffy, his group getting cued into Immu's arrival. Oda doesn't typically like going over the same stretch of time twice. He usually cuts to a new group in the present, in a way that infers they've been doing stuff off screen while the camera was pointed elsewhere. That's why even though the walk back is only a couple of minutes, the whole sequence is treated like a flashback with gray panel gutters. The full vertical panel emphasizing how far Chopper and Scarpa fell was a great choice as well. It's easy to diminish Elbaf's scale in your mind, but the place truly does stretch on forever. I'm not sure what to make of Luffy being not sure how he knows Chopper fell. Are we building to some new application of observation haki, or is it going to be something more like a voice of all things angle? Then we have Shaggy's farewell to Loki. Everything about the framing here seems to support the idea that it's Jarul. I wonder if him going into battle then falling, probably just as Loki arrives to see it, will be what triggers the inevitable flashback. And I really enjoyed Scarpa insisting he was the second strongest even in his injured state, which leads into a hype-building final page as we get ready for the real fight in the next chapter. So yeah, that's chapter 1151 for you. It might not have been as explosive as the last couple, but it's setting up some really interesting stuff. We're getting more context, more character development, and more hints at what's to come. The stakes are getting higher, the mysteries are deepening, and I'm here for all of it. Can't wait to see what Oda's got in store for us next week. Until then, keep theorizing, keep discussing, and keep enjoying One Piece.